All right, everybody. We want to thank you for joining us this afternoon, morning, wherever globally around the world you may be coming from. We have another awesome guest that's on this evening. We are actually trying out a new way of how we are interviewing, so hopefully everything will run smooth tonight. We appreciate everybody that's tuning in, that's going to be tuning in right now, and also who's going to be watching the replay. So we thank you in advance for that. I want to introduce myself. My name is Aisha, affectionately known as Jade. So I really prefer everybody just call me by my nickname, Jade, to keep it cute. And the other co-host is?
Other co-host is Uno. Everybody calls me Uno, so please call me Uno. Unless, you're really close to me or really know me personally like that. Call me Uno, but just call me Uno. That's what everybody know me as.
So we have a really awesome guest that's on this evening. She's going to be telling us a little bit about herself personally, and then we're going to dive right into what her business is about. She can tell you that, and it's just going to be a very fun interview and dialogue and all of that good stuff. So let me introduce her. Her name is Brittany with Whiters. Is it Whiters or Withers?
It's Whiters.
Whiters. Brittany Whiters. She is the CEO and is it co-founder?
Correct.
CEO and co-founder of Canna Health, which is a digital magazine. So thank you so much, Brittany, for coming on. I know it's been both challenging for both of us, but I'm so glad that you got through, and I'm just excited about this. So let everybody know a little bit about Brittany. I guess after you say that, I want to know, following up with that, what is your why into this business that you're in?
Okay. Well, thank you. I am very honored to be on the show. So I personally, I have a background in biology. And then after biology, I went on to pursue a nursing degree. And so I have a lot of experience in intensive care. Most of my nursing experience actually is in intensive care, where I just was caring for patients on ventilators and vasoactive drips and all type of advanced therapies in order to sustain life.
Can you repeat what you were saying again?
Yeah. So I had experience. Majority of my experience is in the intensive care setting. So in the ICU, and I was just caring for patients on vasoactive drips and ventilators, and advanced therapies for sustaining life. Prior to that, I did have some experience in the acute care with cardiac patients, and just all of that work actually led me to patients that used cannabis for therapy. And I never knew about that before. In nursing school, we never learned about the endocannabinoid system. And that's where kind of my frustration stemmed from. Like, we learned all of this science-based, theory-based education in school, but we never even knew about the endocannabinoid system ever. And so then once we learned a little bit more about that, the partner that started the company with me, we also saw that there was a bridge between healthcare and cannabis, a bridge between healthcare professionals, meaning registered nurses, physicians, pharmacists, physical therapists. And so we wanted to create a bridge that would connect the two worlds a little bit more seamlessly, cohesively, I guess you could say. And that's where our recruitment side of the business started from. So we initially started recruiting physicians and mid-levels, which we would classify as nurse practitioners and physician assistants, to the healthcare side of cannabis. And then from there, we learned that there was a huge gap in education, and that stemmed Canna Health Digital Magazine. And that's really the forefront of the business at this point. We still do recruitment, but that's on a very individual one-on-one basis. But Canna Health is a digital magazine, and that helps to educate not only patients and caregivers, but physicians, registered nurses, and healthcare professionals about cannabis as medical therapy, because there's just a huge professional gap, educational gap dealing with cannabis and using it as medicine.
Okay, so we have a question. What school did you attend?
I went to Rush University in Chicago.
Okay, that's what's up.
Okay, so I want to read a little bit about the bio that you sent, even though everyone can go to our website, which is www.chitchatchewshow.com. Again, that's www.chitchatchewshow.com to read, to follow up and read Brittany's background. But what it says is Brittany Whiters is a registered nurse with a background in acute care and critical care, which she was already telling us a little bit about. And it says, after over 5 years of caring for patients on ventilators, critical drips, and performing life-sustaining measures, she discovered the, how do you say it, endocannabinoid system, and found a passion for education and preventative care. So I just want to, if you didn't catch her in the beginning, that is some of her bio, where with her education and knowledge, Canna Health was born, which is a digital magazine that she was speaking of. Brittany, are you also, do you have personal experience, whether it be yourself or family members that that made you become more passionate about what you do?
Yes, my grandfather, who has passed, he was diagnosed with cancer, and he actually used cannabis in his therapy. Believe it or not, he used cannabis to actually help him eat and get energy. And so that just, again, added to the huge misconception that we have about cannabis and its benefits. And so that, adds to my drive to help educate others about cannabis.
Absolutely. Now, have you incorporated cannabis in your own life, far as benefiting your health? Let's see.
Hello? Sorry about that. I think that was on my end.
All right, we got you back. We're back now, you guys. We back.
All right. She gone and reappeared.
That's right.
She did a magic trick.
She did that cannabis trick. That's how it's done. Okay.
So, what were you saying about incorporating cannabis health-wise into your life?
If that's not too personal, let me just put that
Yeah,
out
if it's
there,
not too personal.
because someone did make a point. Maybe it was the question. So we just wanna just say that if it's any questions that you feel uncomfortable, please, by all means, you don't have to answer it. There's no pressure here.
Right.
No, it's okay. I don't use it regularly enough to see a benefit. People think that cannabis might be this magic pill, and it's not. It has to accumulate in your system for it to actually be effective. Like any other medication that we take, we have to take it regularly, and I do not take it regularly. I still do work in the hospital, so I have to be cognizant of that. And my work in the hospital is usually contract work. So I'm going from different hospitals. So I am tested regularly.
Right. I got you. And I totally hear where you're coming from because I work for the city of Atlanta. And so at any point in time, if they want to test, they can.
Yeah.
And, coming from San Francisco to Atlanta, it was a little different because I had a medical marijuana card and could use it for myself because I've been very open about my life that I live in recovery of having a mental illness myself, as well as being basically dual diagnosed, being in recovery. So it can be very challenging sometimes. Coming from San Francisco and seeing right now that Georgia is in the works, I'll say, of hopefully being able to become more update, more legal, more knowledgeable, like a lot of the other states are. And it's just an unfortunate thing because even though I know hemp is very good as well, it's just still some barriers here in Georgia as of right now, which again, we hope for that to change in the upcoming year.
It's still struggling with certain laws.
It's still struggling with certain laws to pass.
Right.
So it's just a little different.
Yeah. They really resistant of legalizing cannabis and just marijuana in general, really. So I'm hoping it does pass, in Georgia where, it can be legalized. That way people can use it, more so for medicinal purposes. I mean, I know people going to use it for recreational, but, there's a lot of people who in need of medicinal, to deal with whatever ailments they're dealing with. So.
Right. Well, Georgia's in the Bible Belt. It's very southern, extremely southern. And so it's very slow to change. It's very apprehensive. And even now with the laws that we do have, like we recently were able to add in PTSD to the list. However, you still cannot obtain cannabis within Georgia. So that's the caveat, and it's ridiculous. I don't know how they can make it legal, but illegal to obtain. So we still have an uphill battle, but we have to also appreciate the small wins for what they are.
Absolutely.
I just think, it's just the lawmakers that have a very closed mind who are really traditional and they're not trying to really be cultivated, So,
right.
I mean, that's another thing you got to think about too is the mindset and what they're used to and how they want things to be. Really old fashioned.
Right.
So we have a comment here. Let me just make sure she did not catch what you had spoke on as far as your grandfather. She says, like to know when grandfather consumed it, was it a pill or smoke? Sounds like you mentioned it, which you did. You did mention.
Yes.
But it was how he did it.
Yes. So he did it in pill form. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I hope that she got that question.
We get all the questions at the
Also, so a question was asked: how would someone place an ad on the digital magazine?
We do have a sales. We have a sales associate, so they can go to sales at canahealthmagazine.com.
And where did you say go to as far as if someone was interested in placing an ad in your digital magazine?
Sales at canahealthmagazine.com.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So, Joe, if you don't mind putting that in the comment box for everyone to see, if you don't mind. If not, we'll make sure that it gets put in there. And I'm glad that the other person got their question answered as well. You mentioned your dad with cancer. My mom, she lives in Jersey, and she has dementia. And I, really feel that cannabis would work with her. But, her being in New Jersey, I know that they're still working on that as well. If I'm correct, like
I thought they legalized.
Or have they legalized it yet?
I thought they legalized marijuana.
I am not too sure what's going on with New Jersey, but I thought that they were a little bit more progressive than Georgia. I thought that they did have like a longer list of, at least for medical. I don't think that it's fully legal.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Right.
All right. That makes more sense. Okay. Yeah.
So we have some other comments where it says Georgia, when you were speaking earlier,
Red state.
there is the red state.
Yes, it is.
In-state cultivation.
Yeah. Licensure. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you, Joe, for putting that up on there. I mean, when I think of these things, when I listen to you and when me and Uno talk about these things, or even just, just in general, I think about how it says Kentucky has really
they legalized.
They're really more progressive, and even some of these other southern states like North Carolina and things of that nature.
But
like
Kentucky is like one of the most southern states. You would think they would have the mindset as Georgia have,
right.
And it would be the opposite as Georgia passing it faster than Kentucky, but that's not the case. Kentucky actually passed their law of legalization of marijuana faster than Georgia, which is that's mind-boggling to me. That's crazy. But like I said, it's just all about the mindset and what laws is already in place that they don't want to change.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot of layers you have to look at.
Yep, absolutely.
And how long has your business been? And how long has this Canna Health digital magazine been? When did it start?
It started March of last year, so it's a little over a year old.
Okay, cool.
Okay, cool. Now you working in the hospital, correct?
Correct.
Now, how do people that you work with within the medical field, like employees or people that what you do, be more open to the cannabis world and going more like, I guess, holistic? Like, what are their views on that? How do they feel about it?
It's still, being in Georgia, it's still taboo a little bit to speak about it that openly. For example, one of the physicians that I speak to, or he's actually been, he supplied an article in the magazine. He works at the Shepherd Center here in Georgia, and the Shepherd Center is known to use cannabis with some of their patients. It's a neuro hospital, and so it actually can help greatly with pain management there. But even some of the physicians, they do not want it known that they prescribe cannabis. So it's still iffy. However, I am moving. And before I even moved, I'm moving up north to Illinois. And a couple of the connects that I have up there, where she was explaining an experience to me where she went to a doctor's appointment, and she said that she does use medical cannabis, and they actually had a checkbox for medical cannabis. And it was open. It was okay. It was at Northwestern, I believe. which is a university up in Chicago, a well-known university. So I thought that that was great. I thought that that was a great step towards acceptance, like a universal acceptance. Hopefully one day Georgia will step on board. But as for now, yeah, it's still taboo.
Yeah, they're not jumping on board no time soon.
They aren't. But they are. But I found it's like 50-50. Like, some of the physicians, like if I mention it, they're like, oh, really? And some of them they're not interested. So it's a 50-50.
Right. I mean, I know why they're saying that. I mean, if you think about all these doctors, whether holistic or just really out there doing their own thing, and how they risk their lives, to go the natural way or treat people with cannabis or hemp, and how people come up dead or their careers are. So some people are in fear, not just for their life, but losing their job. So
losing their license.
Kind of put that into
Okay, you're back. You're back.
Okay.
You're back.
What you were saying, Jay?
Oh, as far as I was saying, even when I spoke with my primary physician, and we were even just speaking on the level of CBD hemp, her whole demeanor just kind of transformed on me. It was a conversation that she did not want to have. And, she immediately went back to, well, if you take metformin because I'm diabetic, it was all about increasing the meds. And I told her, I said, listen, I don't need for you to increase it anymore, because the long-term effects of it is really bad. These pharmaceutical medicines for me, because everybody is individually different, but in the long term, they mess your body up and they mess your mind up. And so I just, again.
But see, those doctors are controlled by big guys,
right.
The big pharma guys in the industry. So they have to do what they're told.
I mean, and it's really, also too, because cannabis isn't regulated, it's not formulated. So there's no way of someone saying that this is 110%, you know what I mean, 100% pure cannabis. Right. Right. There's no saying that this cannabis that you bought off the black market, it doesn't have any other chemicals in it. And that's, that's where, I don't want to say that's where we need to start, but that's where we need to head to. That needs to be part of the conversation, I guess I should say, is trying to kind of formulate these cannabis strains or whatever you're putting on the market to have a label on it. I know that's one of the articles in one of the magazine issues that we have, is that when you do go to purchase cannabis, you want to make sure that you know what's in it. And if you only know what's in it if it's labeled correctly. And that's where we need to start going to, is labeling it correctly. You want to know what's going into your body, right? So when you go to the grocery store, sometimes if I'm picking up a new product, I'll usually look at the ingredients and see what's in it. And that's what we need to start doing with cannabis as well. And we need to make the people who we're buying it from do that, hold them accountable, because that's the only way that we're going to start to make people feel more comfortable, especially the healthcare professionals. They want to know what's in it. They can't just blindly prescribe you something without knowing the ingredients, what's active in it.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
We have a question. What 420 friendly states and events have you attended or medical states?
I have been to Pittsburgh, their World Expo, their World Expo and Business Conference. I can't remember the name of it, but I've been to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is it's moving pretty fast. It is. I've been to Florida. Not necessarily an event there, but just looking at the different shops, dispensaries. I think there's only really one or two dispensaries, but there are a number of physicians down there and people in the healthcare industry. And I've had my associates or my writers go to different places as well.
For example, the physicians, the registered nurses, pharmacists, etc. Profiles of cannabis clinics and organizations, how-to articles, and patient empowerment stories. Are you back with us, Brittany?
Yeah, can you guys hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
I can hear you.
Okay.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. We were just reading a little bit more while you was working it out again, as always, about some more of your bio. We were letting our listeners know. That question that probably they really didn't get a chance to hear, but it was, what 420 friendly states and events have you attended or medical states? And I know that you mentioned Pittsburgh, and I know that you mentioned Florida as well.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then I was saying that I have a couple of writers that actually attend events on my behalf. So like I have a writer in California and she went to an event.
It has you breaking up again. Okay. So the Pittsburgh and Florida, and that's where you broke off at.
I have writers that have been to, I have a writer in California, and she's been to events there. And then I have a writer up like in the Minnesota area, but that's still pending. But yeah, so I have other writers that go to different events for me that I can't attend because I can't be everywhere, unfortunately.
Understood. Another question that was asked: how do you feel about diagnosed children being prescribed CBD oil?
Oh, yeah, of course. I think that that's excellent. I think that it's, there was actually recently an event in North Carolina. I didn't mention that one of my writers attended for me because I couldn't attend it there. And it was just, can you guys hear me? Am I breaking up?
No, you fine. You go ahead.
Oh, okay. I saw some confused looks and I was like,
Oh,
no. We good. No, we checking the feed to make sure.
Okay. I was just putting y'all on blast. Okay, no, I'm just kidding.
No, so, it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, to North Carolina. Okay, to North Carolina. I had a writer go to North Carolina to an event that I couldn't attend, and it was about CBD, and about it was with Hope, helping out parents with extraordinary children. Hope, and it was about CBD. It was a 101 event where we were just educating people about the benefits of CBD. So obviously majority of parents attended there. And while North Carolina does not have, it's not legal there yet, they can still have the conversation. And so it was, again, just educating the parents on what alternatives that they can have, they can use when it's available to them. Because so many of those parents are using pharmaceuticals, a number of pharmaceuticals for their children. And so I think personally that CBD is a wonderful option for children. I think it's honestly, I don't know how to put it. It's if the parents maybe a safer route, just because it's pure, it doesn't have any of the psychoactive effects, right? Even though studies have shown that THC and CBD are the most effective. But CBD alone is effective on its own, as we can see with epilepsy. So I'm not sure if she had a particular question, if she wanted to elaborate on that. Yes, I do believe that it's safe and it's beneficial for children.
Okay. And what do you think is the youngest age? 5? Because I know I see different Facebook on my
Well, people are getting, you can give it to babies.
Okay, so the appropriate age to have a child prescribed CBD oil.
Yeah, I don't know if there's really an appropriate age because you can give it to babies as well. I know that some people, yeah, infants. Mm-hmm.
I definitely didn't know that. Okay, that's good to know. So,
yep.
Let me make sure that I'm pronouncing her name correctly. Ahi.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ahi's question, which you may have already answered, she asked, what medical issues do you have to obtain a license for cannabis? She says, I'm sure it's too many to name. And then she thanked us both for the show. Well, we definitely,
you're welcome.
We appreciate that, Ahi.
Appreciate you.
Where is Ahim from?
Ahi, if you are still on the line, where are you from?
Because it depends on where you live. It depends on your state.
Okay.
I hear you have a unique name.
Mm-hmm. Joe also asked, well, he put out there the World Cannabis Expo. Are you familiar with that? And if you are, is there one coming up in 2018 or has it already passed? And Joe, if you have that information about the World Cannabis Expo, if you can let us know in here when the next expo is coming up.
The World Cannabis Expo. I think there's one in Florida, and that's this month.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure on the date. I'm not sure on the date, but I believe it's like later on this month. World Cannabis Expo. Yes.
Okay. Joe, if you know any information about the upcoming World Cannabis Expo, definitely you're a resourceful person.
Put it in the comments. And for those who are going to be in that area when he posts the information in the comment section, I will advise you, we encourage you to go to the expo.
Yes.
How it's beneficial to all.
Definitely. I mean, I know, again, when I lived in San Francisco, I had the opportunity to go to expos going on through San Francisco and the Bay Area. Very informative. Met a lot of really cool people who are in the cannabis clubs and people who were even because like clothing lines, and I mean the abilities were even like the just advocates there for like their family members, and I mean it was just a wonderful thing. So when I moved to Atlanta, thinking that it was going to be the same type of setup, and found out that it was not, I got the shock of my life. I just yeah. We're connected.
Yep, we still here.
Okay.
So Joe also asked, "Are you open for a content writer?"
Yes, we do. We do take applications for content writers. We just ask that you, if you do contact us, just send in kind of like a resume, your experience, and what you want. We do have topics, but we're definitely open to, diverse writing, I guess, or diverse topics, diverse subject matter.
Cool.
Like, for example, this upcoming issue is.
Okay. So Ebony sending love from Colorado. Yes, Joe, who knows? It might be our connection, but right now we are working it out. There was a cannabis expo in Pittsburgh, he said.
Yep.
Ahi. Mm-hmm. Ahi.
Mention that one more time, because I did see our end disconnect real quick.
So so it might be on our side. So the question for Brittany is, will insurance pay if the state approved?
That depends on your insurance as well. I know that that's probably not the answer that you want to hear, but some insurances will not pay for it, and some insurances will cover it. So, you have to verify that with your insurance company, and I
just when you get to the good part, you want to start acting up. Froze again.
Okay.
Well, I'm gonna repeat what.
Can you see me now?
All right. You there, Brittany?
Yes.
Okay. Repeat what you said.
I said that some insurance companies, you have to. It depends on the insurance companies. Some of them will cover it, and some of them won't. If you have the expectation that they will cover it, you want to make sure. And I'm pretty sure that who is the. Who was asking the question?
Okay. Ahi was asking, will the insurance pay if the
right? So Ahi, I'm pretty sure that you already know this, but just make sure that you ask your insurance company before you go. If you have that expectation, you want to make sure that your insurance company will cover it, and make sure that ask them what type of cannabis were they cover. Are they only going to cover CBD? Are they going to cover the whole plant therapy? Are they going to cover just tincture? What is it? So he needs to specify it down to what exactly they will cover. If they're going to cover whole plant, or if they're just going to cover CBD, or if it's CBD and THC. So he needs to make that clear.
Okay. Okay. And I guess this ties in, you probably already asked, but also that question, how would you ask the doctor for recommendations? And also, is there a genetic form?
A genetic form.
That's the question that was asked. Is there a genetic form?
Okay. So just blatantly ask your physician. Ask your physician about cannabis and what they think about cannabis as using cannabis in their therapy. And that right there will give you the answer that you're looking for. Honestly, if the physician isn't even open to learning about cannabis, then maybe you might be a practitioner. I'm not saying leave your physician. I'm just saying that you at least want someone who's open to learning. And then the genetic form, I'm not sure. Can you elaborate on that question? I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, can you elaborate on that question? Are you talking about cannabis? Are you talking about CBD oil? Like, what are you referring to? We just want to make it clear so Brittany can answer your question clearly and thoroughly.
And genetic, to me, genetic, and I might be wrong, when I hear the word genetic as far as cannabis or CBD, to me in my brain that makes me think that it's not the full plant, not the whether it's the on the CBD or the full plant of cannabis when I think of genetic, because we know that there's so many people out here that are putting synthetic
Mm.
tampering with the cannabis, and they're
True.
selling cannabis, the
To make profit.
to make profit,
Right.
the CBD oils that is not the full spectrum of CBD.
True.
So that's what I think when I hear like genetic.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. Well, hopefully he okay. Okay, she said genetic, but she said my bag generic.
Oh, so generic form.
In a generic form.
Okay.
Okay. I don't believe, unless she knows something that I don't know, I don't believe there is necessarily a generic form, because unfortunately there's so many different variations of cannabis out there. Even if you want to go for a specific strain, everybody makes that strain different, unfortunately. I know you're like, how can someone make this strain different? Yeah, I was just saying that, unfortunately, there is no generic form, because even the strains that that we hear so often about, everybody makes them differently. So
yeah, the cannabis industry is kind of tricky in a way. It's really beneficial, but it can get tricky because then
right.
like you mentioned, people applying synthetic to cannabis and passing off as real cannabis just to make a profit.
Right.
It's a huge industry, and
right. Unfortunately, there's many shades. There's more than 50 shades of gray in the cannabis industry.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, everybody's not in it for the same reasons. Everybody has their own agenda. And that's what you have to realize, so. But the thing is just knowing what you put in your body, and like you were saying, Brittany, just, knowing what's in cannabis, whether you have in pill form or whatever form it may be.
Exactly.
You have to know what you put in your body. Knowing the contents, knowing the chemicals,
the benefits and everything.
Benefits, right, exactly.
Mm-hmm. And don't feel bad. You have the right to know this.
Oh, yeah, you have to. It's your body. It's your body. It's not their body. It's
right.
You. If you die, I mean, what?
Exactly.
If you die. I mean, that's something that you have to live with, not the person that sold you or gave you something that was detrimental to you. They don't have to worry about it. You do. So, yeah, you're supposed to ask those hard questions to make sure that you're putting the right things in your body.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
I wanted to put this out here too. Joe Mack said Florida Medical Cannabis Conference and Exhibition in Sarasota just passed this weekend. 6th, which was from the 1st to the 3rd, 2018. So they didn't have the extradition in Florida. Yeah.
Now, you also, Brittany, can you touch base on the current opioid epidemic that's going on here?
Ooh, that's a whole nother.
It's off the chain.
Man.
It's insane. Gosh, where do I even begin? I like to start with statistics, but I honestly don't think that they matter at this point because no one's getting the message. It's not going through. Thousands are still dying on a daily basis. It's still being overprescribed. It's just
very addictive.
It's just hugely detrimental to the society as a whole. And we really don't understand why the government, well, obviously, you know that there's money behind that. It's like a $500 billion industry. So it's hard for the government to pull away from, but it's taking lives. It's taking lives left and right. So where do we begin? Where do we begin this whole, discussion? And where do we begin change? And I would say that it starts with the individual. And just like he said, we need to go to our medical providers and tell them that we don't want to be on this medication because thank God we live in a country where we can choose who we want to go to for care. And if they are pushing these, pharmaceuticals to you, you can choose to go to somebody else and someone who is going to recommend cannabis. And so we need to go to our healthcare providers and tell them that you want an alternative option. And that's how you start to change the conversation, because once more of the healthcare providers are on board, then they go to these conferences, they go, to their healthcare board, their hospital board, they go to the physician's board and they tell them what's going on. They let them know what their patients are asking for. And then from there, the hospital boards, I don't know if they necessarily have that much of an influence on, obviously, the pharmaceuticals, but you have a louder voice now. You have more behind what's going on, what you're demanding, a louder voice. You have, unfortunately, somebody with a white coat and credentials, and I know it sucks to say this, but their voice will bellow louder than yours, louder than an individual voice. So that's really where we start off the conversation, is with individuals going to their healthcare providers. But we could also go to our legislators and tell them too. You go to your lawmakers, you let them know, what's going on. You let them know about different stories that you hear about opioids and how it's been detrimental to their community. And you force them to make decisions, because then again, we have the right to not elect this person back in office. So that's what I would say to that. We need to stop necessarily, I don't want to say stop talking about it, but we need to start doing more about it. And taking those steps to really change the conversation and stop talking about how much it's hurting and what we need to do to change it.
That's true.
Absolutely. Definitely being more proactive.
Power is in numbers.
Power is definitely in numbers.
It can't just be one individual. It has to be a collective of people to go to these legislators, to go to these companies and demand change far as how they treat patients.
Right. Absolutely.
It won't happen overnight, but
Nope.
if you're persistent and
Yep.
consistent and passionate and driven to want to make change for just the health industry, then it will finally happen. But yeah, it has to. Of course, like you said, Brittany, it starts with you first, and then from there, you can you
Right.
can motivate
Hmm.
everybody else, and everybody
Right.
else falls along if they're on the same mentality though, because they have to be at the same wavelength. If
On
they're
one
not,
accord.
then it's
Yep.
not going to work. Because you have some
Absolutely.
people who want to keep themselves back, who want to continue to be on this, down spiral of just being addicted to opioids
Hmm.
and, just, ruining their life. And if that's where they choose to be, you leave them right there. But for those who
Right.
really trying to recover and want to make change, even if you're not even experienced opioids at all, but you want to see something happen in a positive way, then those two um those two people that's going through two different things in life can come together and figure out what the solution can be.
Hmm. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Okay. Well, we do have some other quick comments before we wrap up. Um, okay, IE said exactly Uno.
Hey,
Also,
you got a lot to say, don't you?
I know, I know. I haven't seen her on my Facebook page be this active in a minute. Hey now. Okay. She said,
And I just wanted to I know you're we're about to close out here, but
oh, please go ahead.
Oh, go
I
ahead.
really liked what Uno said about how people are there are some people who are stuck, and they're just stuck with what they know, and they're
Yeah.
comfortable with what they know.
Exactly.
And it's so funny that she mentioned that because Canada Health is actually teaming up with One Plant, and we are going to be doing a documentary on opioids, and then one on veterans and one on addiction, and one of it's going to be like a YouTube series, not like a YouTube series. It's going to be a YouTube series,
Mm-hmm.
and um one of the guests that we have on there, he is actually struggling with the same thing that you're talking about. He's struggling with, okay, he's on these opioids and, they're helping him, but at the same time, he feels he's like in this haze. He has all these side effects. He has to take pills to combat those side effects. And then on the other hand, there's cannabis, but he is apprehensive to go to cannabis because obviously society has put in our mind that, cannabis is bad and, it's unnatural or whatever. We have to stay with the pharmaceuticals. So it'll be interesting to hear his perspective, but definitely look out for that series. And it's just going to have some powerful pieces in it.
Absolutely. I look forward to that as well. And I can definitely relate because, again, I'm dual diagnosed. I'm in my recovery of um, mental illness as well as I'm a recovering crack cocaine addict myself. And there was one point where I was taking 22 meds from
Oh, wow.
side effects of side effects of side effects.
Mm.
And I've dropped down to probably 3 now, but
Oh, that's amazing.
I've dropped down to 3 because I just saw myself. I look like a zombie. And when you're in recovery, especially from like crack cocaine or whatever, it's like they put you on meds. You're supposed to be recovering, but they put you on the meds and you're still messed up.
That's crazy.
So, I'm glad about knocking it down from 22 to 3. However, that metformin and the pills that I take for high blood pressure and cholesterol and things of that nature, it's still side effects. I still suffer with stomach aches. Like, it bothers me a lot of times. I choose not to be on any type of psych meds because of the horrific side effects. But I'm that person because, like, I want to, for medicinal purposes, I want to take cannabis. I want to incorporate cannabis and THC because I know how it worked for me when I lived in California. And because I work for the government and they do random testing, I can't. And I feel like a lot of times I'm at my wit's end because as we all have said, what can a person do? I mean, so I'm going between both myself. So it's amazing.
always a battle.
It's a battle.
Yeah.
It's
That's
a battle.
a long way to explain it.
Right. And as Brittany has said, and you said, and I've said a little bit, like, you have to keep going. You can't stop. If a door shuts, open up another one. You have to keep going, because that's their goal, is to stop you, like, just,
from progressing,
elevating and everything.
Evolve.
You have to, like, we like to run our mouths, so let's run our mouths.
Right.
Right.
Seriously, we like to run our mouths, so let's run our mouths to this, because it's very important. Studies have shown amazing results from people. So it's really important that we keep fighting this. My daughter has epilepsy, and she can't take it because of the type of work that she does. So we have to keep fighting.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not even a thought. We have to keep fighting.
Have to. Ain't no choice.
So I thank you for. Okay, there you go. So could you just bring us into your final thoughts, as well as your social media links?
So again, I just want to thank you guys very much for giving me this opportunity to just talk about myself and talk about Canna Health in the direction it's going in. And, the goal of Canna Health is to create a reliable, safe network for all. And I hope that your viewers and yourself will definitely engage in that atmosphere and that network. And then it's very important, I think that we've all said this, that we are stronger together. So the more people that we have with the same mindset and the same passion and drive, the more beneficial our mission is. So with that said, definitely reach out to us and join our social media. We have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and then our YouTube channel. And it's all at Canna Health Mag. Canna Health Mag, yeah.
Okay.
Dope.
So that is definitely dope. So if you guys didn't catch that, because I got to put it out there too, we just got to keep speaking in volumes.
Right.
Because that's who myself and Uno we are. We're about supporting positive, like-minded companies, organizations, just people who small business, people that are passionate.
Right.
So the website is www.cannahealthmagazine.com. Again, that's www.cannahealthmagazine.com. That's the website. The Facebook is www.facebook.com/Canna, that's CANNA, health mag / okay. The Instagram, you go to instagram.com/Canna Health Mag. Also on Twitter, you can go to twitter.com, Canna Health Mag. There's a YouTube channel as well. So
Canna Health Mag, check it out.
Canna Health Mag. We're going to put this all in the links and everything. Yep. I hope maybe myself, because again, I'm somewhat of an open book about my life and what things have helped and haven't, as well as perhaps maybe Chit Chat Chew could be a part of your Canna Health Mag and have
absolutely
in there. So we really appreciate you. Like I always tell people, I didn't know Brittany from a can of paint, girl, and didn't even realize that her and I were Facebook acquaintances. So the universe has this way of how it allows me
directing people in my life
for certain reasons. So I truly believe in that. I truly believe in
absolutely.
That. So thank you so much. We appreciate you. We hope in the near future we can follow up with you as well and have you back on the show.
Yes.
And see what new ventures have come about.
Absolutely. Thank you both.
You're
welcome.
All right. Bye-bye.
Enjoy your evening.
And you too. You guys out there, enjoy your evening as well. Have a good night. Be safe. Relax, chill.
Chill, love on yourself first. Self-care is very important. We always say that. Make sure to self-care, self-love, self-respect. Make sure that you guys take care of your temple from head to toe. That's very necessary. If you do not love yourself first, no one else. If you do not have self-care, no one else will have self-care for you.
You're right.
So he said, thank you, Brittany, so much. She is having dinner and enjoy.
Joe Mack said, thank you for hosting the interview. Joe Mack said that. You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome, you guys.
She has been added to the best minority cannabis group on Facebook.
Absolutely.
So with that,
follow us on our Facebook group too. Chit Chat Chew Show Podcast.
Absolutely. Join us. Spread the word. Make it go viral. Support small businesses. Also support Black-owned businesses. That is absolutely key.
Important.
Very important. So with that, enjoy the rest of your evening and peace and love to all.
Peace.